I just became a certified personal trainer. If I was just starting out in the gym today, these are the 4 things that I would do differently. Had I done these from the beginning, I'd be miles ahead of where I am today. Man, when I first started training, I made a ton of mistakes. For starters, I never ate enough protein. I was always taking my bulks and cuts way too hard. I'd bulk for too long and I'd bulk too fast. And then when I did cut, I'd cut way too quickly and lose a lot of the muscle that I did put on. I trained way too often, so I never ended up giving my body the recovery that it needed. I thought that training more often would have sped up my recovery, but it did the exact opposite and actually slowed down my progress. To be honest though, since I was still seeing some newbie gains, I was stubborn to the fact that I wasn't doing things right, as I had the mentality of if things aren't broken, then why fix them? I didn't know that if I made some minor tweaks, I would have made a lot more progress in my beginner phase. Anyways guys, I'm about to get a haircut. It's been a little while since my last one and it's getting a little long on the sides here, so I'm pumped to get it cleaned up here. I always thought that the more you went to the gym, the more you would see muscle growth. And that is definitely not true for a beginner. Your body's not used to the stress that you're putting on it when you work out and needs some time to adapt. And because of this, you need more time to recover as a beginner. So going to the gym more actually does more harm than good. So instead of going to the gym 5 to 6 times a week like I did when I was a beginner, if I were to do it all over again, I would only go 3 times a week, making sure that I didn't work out 2 days in a row. This will give my body enough time to fully recover before my next workout so that I'm fully optimizing my muscle growth. It's also going to be easier to be consistent at it as it's only a 3-day per week commitment instead of a 5-day per week commitment. I would do this for at least 3 months. If after the 3 months is up and I'm in a plateau or I am just getting bored of my workout, then I might look at increasing it to 4 days per week. But for the first 3 months, I definitely would only work out for 3 days per week. It's a shitty day out. I was hoping it would let up so I could get some drone shots for this video, but it's not looking like it's gonna. That's not gonna stop us from going and hitting the gym.
Tragedy and we just seem so numb. Need a peace, humanity is dumb in the streets. We see police don't freeze but run, and the next thing that you know, somebody reach for the gun. Then the murder get reciprocated. Man, I swear that culture discombobulated. All these people picking sides, I'm just trying to circumnavigate it. Got me thinking, man, the situation getting complicated. Let me tell you, all the 90s, baby, got the juice now.
For the first few months, I just showed up to the gym and did these random exercises, never really had any intention behind them. Eventually, I got a free app that it was decent, but it also didn't track the weights that I was lifting, and it just had a basic program in it that I followed. This honestly killed my muscle growth big time. Since I wasn't tracking how much I was lifting, I couldn't implement progressive overload effectively. In fact, at that time, I didn't even know what progressive overload was. And considering it's a major factor to actually getting your muscles to grow, this wasn't a good thing at all. If I had to do everything all over again, knowing what I know now, I would definitely track everything religiously with both my diet and my workouts. When it comes to my workouts, I would have tracked my weight and my sets and reps that I was doing for each exercise. And then the next week, I would try to increase that weight. That way, every week I would be able to incorporate progressive overload. Now, if you don't know what progressive overload is, the gist of it is you either want to lift more weight, more reps, or more sets every week that you do an exercise. That way you're putting more stress on your muscle, and that increased stress is the stimulus that makes your muscles grow. I know this is just a high level explanation of it. If you want a deeper explanation of it, then I definitely recommend checking out this video that I posted right here. It talks more in depth on it. Since I wasn't tracking my workouts though, I wasn't able to effectively incorporate progressive overload because I didn't know how much weight I was lifting or how many reps I was doing or how many sets I was doing. And I was kind of just freeballing it. So that's why tracking every workout and implementing progressive overload is definitely a requirement when it comes to going to the gym. Aside from not tracking workouts, I also never tracked my diet. For the first 6 months to a year of working out, the only diet change I really made was adding a protein shake after every workout. And although this was better than nothing, it definitely wasn't optimal for muscle growth. If I were to do it all over again, I would definitely make sure that I'm tracking my macros every single day and trying to hit my protein and calorie goal. I can guarantee you, if you're not tracking how many calories or how much protein you're eating in a day, you're not eating the correct amount. If you're trying to put on weight, you need to be in a calorie surplus, and if you're trying to lose weight, then you need to be in a calorie deficit. I'd also aim to get at least 1 gram of protein in per day, especially if you're on a cut, as this is going to make sure that you're not losing any muscle. And if you're in a bulk, 0.7 grams per day is as low as I go. I'd still aim for the 1 gram per pound of body weight though, as that's going to make sure you're getting enough to optimize muscle growth. Bro, one of the things that I absolutely hate about getting a haircut, aside from the little hairs that get down the back of your neck, is when the barber gets the style perfect, and then when you get home, you're not able to get it looking the same way that he did. However, that's no longer a problem for me, as Forte sent me this hair styling cream. All I need to do is put a little bit on my finger, rub it in my hands, and then push it through my hair, and it comes out the exact same way that the barber had it when I left his place. It was literally just as simple as that. I will say a lot of hair products will make your hair like clump together. However, this stuff looks very natural, which I like, and it doesn't really feel like you have product in your hair. And it also doesn't leave any dandruff in your hair after the product dries like some other products. If you want to check this out for yourself, use coupon code APEX at checkout and you'll get 15% off. When I first started going to the gym, I always had a few minor injuries that prevented me from going to the gym. Now this was due to a few things, not doing any mobility and training too much being some of them, but it was also in large part due to me lifting with improper form. If I had to do it all over again, I would make sure that my form was dialed in before adding any weight. Not only would this have prevented a lot of those injuries that I experienced the first few months to the first year of lifting, but it also would have led to a lot more muscle growth. Not doing full range of motion when you're doing a lift will mean that you won't see full development of your muscles, regardless of the amount of weight that you lift. The stretch portion of the lift is very important for muscle growth. And oftentimes when we add too much weight, we're not able to go into that fully stretched portion of the lift, which results in us not seeing optimal muscle growth. If you guys are unsure about your form, I'd love to check it out. I got a free fitness accountability group. I'll drop the link for that down in the description of this video. If you want to post a photo or video of your form up there, I'd love to check it out and make sure that you're lifting properly so that you can avoid injury and optimize your muscle growth. Probably the biggest mistake that I made once I started actually paying attention to my diet and tracking everything was bulking and cutting way too hard. For the first year of lifting, I was doing a bulk, and at the time I thought I needed to eat a whole bunch of food and be in a large calorie surplus in order to gain muscle, when in fact this was doing more harm than good. I did gain a lot of weight because of this, but a lot of that was fat and not muscle, which meant that I had to do these big cuts to get rid of this weight. And while I was cutting, I was barely putting on muscle, if I was putting on any at all. If I were to do it all over again, I would make sure that I'm only eating in a calorie surplus of 250 calories. This would put me on track to gain about half a pound per week. This rate's kind of the sweet spot, as most of the weight that I put on will be muscle. If I were to gain weight any faster than that, that's when I would start to be putting on a significant amount of fat. You can only put on so much muscle a week, and eating too much is just going to be a waste, as most of the weight gain is going to be fat. Another mistake that I made was I would bulk for way too long. If I were to do it all over again, I would make sure to cut as soon as my abs disappeared. If I couldn't see my abs, then I wouldn't even be doing a bulk. I'd be starting with a cut. However, I started skinny, so I definitely needed to bulk right at the beginning. But if I were to do it all over again, I definitely wouldn't be doing these long bulks. The main problem with them is when you put on an excessive amount of fat, it's going to mess with your hormone levels a bit. A high body fat percentage is associated with decreased testosterone levels. When I did go on a cut, I'd also want to aim to make this slow as well. My target weight loss would be, and is currently, 0.5 to 1 pound per week. This means that I'm eating in a calories deficit of 250 to 500 calories a week. If you're just getting into the gym and want to learn more about the fitness fundamentals, then I definitely recommend checking out this playlist right here. It only talks about the things that you need to know, and anything you don't need to know, it doesn't mention. Don't forget code APEX at checkout for the Forte hairstyling cream, and don't forget to click subscribe.